Welcome to the workshop. We are continuing from what we learned yesterday, and this is a basics of UI and UX design workshop, which is conducted for Cisco thingQbator in association with Enlightened Technologies. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am Tejasvi. I am a UX designer and researcher, and I work with Picture Labs as a UX designer. Begin the session, let's just quickly recap on what we, okay, fine. Tell you what we are planning for today. And today we're going to start off with where we left off yesterday, that is understanding and exploring the softwares, which is Adobe XD and Zeppelin. If you haven't downloaded them yet, please do download it. And after that, we're going to try and understand the design process which is followed a little bit in depth, and what are the steps, and how is it, what are the methods used, and all of that. We will even try and practice some of it. I have planned a couple of exercises, and probably we can have a design hackathon depending on how the session goes on. Today, I want it to be a more hands-on session. So depending on how the session goes on and how time permits, I will either combine the guided exercise and DIY together, but we will have some hands-on session, and we can have a sharing and interacting session or question FAQs at the end of the session. A recap of last session. So we understood what is UI UX design, what is product design, we understood what is design. We also looked at a little bit of history and evolution of UI design, and we understood elements of or what is design theory and elements of design, principles of design which dictate design, and also some common UI elements which are used in the industry as standards. Apart from that, I also introduced you all to rules of iOS and Android. I had shared the link yesterday. I will share them again today. We also discussed about designing for access. This is a bit of yesterday. I'm going to continue from here. So the design tools we are going to explore is, these are the design tools I mentioned yesterday. This is for designing, which is Figma and Sketch and XD. Prototyping tools such as InVision, Marvel, Framer, and Principle. All of these are available, and you can download them easily. You can try and explore if you're all interested in it. But today we will learn Adobe XD and Zeppelin. Zeppelin is a handoff tool, and XD is a designing and prototyping tool. We'll try and understand them today. So I have designed a small design exercise, and we're going to start off with the design exercise. Or probably let's explore XD first, and then we can go about designing. Let me open and share my XD. So this is, if you download Adobe Creative, this is the XD software we're going to use today. These are some of my recent work. So what you see here is what different sizes available. We can go for a custom size, but let's just try and explore. I will first take an iPhone. All of you can simultaneously try it on your XD also, or you can just try and understand first. The layout of the software looks, it's very simple, it's very basic. Here you see all the basic tools which we use for designing. I'll just explain one by one. And here we see some other tools such as plugin and layers and components. This is your designing. So right now we are in the designing space. This is your prototyping space, and this is your sharing space, where you can share the link with your colleagues or with your friends, and they can view your work. This is the best part of XD. It's a collaborative tool. You can also add people to the same file, which you can see here. When you click on this, just see it. You can save and name your files here. Here is that it's saved on my cloud. I can change this and save it on my local drive on my computer. You can also have your different views, device preview screens, and this is where you can invite others to share your document, and you will have to save it before we share it. So I can just add their email ID and share it. And this will enable the users or the people who you have invited to work on it simultaneously. And these are all the rest of the designing tools you see. We can explore one by one as and when we proceed. What I've done here is I've already taken a default uh, screen which was available on an artboard. This is called an artboard of an iPhone. We can choose to click or get other artboards, and this is the option for artboard. You have all your sizes and all your screen resolutions set, so you can just pick the device you want and the sizes. So that's how we create artboards. Now let's move on. So whatever artboards you've created, you can see them here in the list of artboards. When you click on each one of them, then you can see layers under them, which is this, which is the layers. And then plugins. I have certain plugins which are already pre-loaded. You can explore XP plugins which are available for free. These are all different shapes you can draw. So there's a rectangle tool, there's an oval tool, there's a circle tool, an ellipse. This is a polygon, and there is a line tool, there's a pen tool, text, and there's a zoom tool. So let me just show you how we can add those shapes or components. This is how we can draw a line. What we discussed yesterday in the basic vision design. This is a continuous drawing thing. Okay, so I'm going to select one of this rectangles or a bar which I've created. I will change the because I can hardly make that. I can choose from here probably add a blue color, and you can add it to your document color or save it to your color swatch. So I'm going to do that. So let's pick this color. Add it. So it's there in your document, and if you want to add it for another component, you can just go and click on this, and it's there. And so you can add color, you can add shadow, you can add texture, you can do text. You can see there's like a thicker line. I don't want it, you can just untick this and the border won't appear. If you want a shadow, you can see a shadow here. Just click it, then the shadow appears. You can also adjust the shadow and so it is on the x-axis it's 5 points away from the element, and the y-axis it's 3 points away. I hope everyone is able to follow. If there are any doubts, please feel free to ask me and stop me in between. From the artboard, if you click on this, is where you can get a list of all the devices with their resolutions preset. And Apple devices, Google devices, Microsoft devices, web devices. So I took a web design. You can select that and it'll appear. You just continue clicking and they'll appear. This is your main working space. You can zoom out, zoom in as much as you can. And what else? We can also set a layout as we discussed. Yesterday we spoke about layouts and grids. So in Adobe XD they have a preset layout for depending on the sizes of your devices. They have like a preset mark and butters, but this is also customizable based on your design and how you want your design to be. You see here we bars are nothing but your columns, which is 4 in number. You can see all the details on this panel. This is a default layout that appears in XD. Here, this is when you selected the margins on your left hand side and your right hand side of your device. When you select this, it is the four sides, which is also a top and a bottom. So right now it is 0. I'll just show you how. If I add like a numerical value there, 20, you can see how the grid size changed here. So that is the difference, but it depends on individual and designers on how they prefer to design. If they want to maintain margin all around, or if you want to maintain a margin on the left, only on the left and right hand side of the device. Let me customize my columns. I think I want like 6. So you can see how my columns have changed. I can also change my gutter width and make it 11 and 14. I'm just showing you all how I can customize each one of them. I think 14 is a little too much. I'll go back to 10. And wait, let me see. I think also, then gutter width is reduced. You can see how as soon as I increase, we can then decide it sizes will be best if we choose numbers which are divisible by 4 or 2. It is easy for development and it is easy to understand in terms of screen resolutions and density pixels. That's another whole different topic to talk about. So guys can explore on your own, and it is also there on the material design, material design web, which designing for Androids, which I shared yesterday. So you can have a look at it in depth to understand what density pixel is and how resolutions and what are the sizes and the numbers we should maintain. Okay. We know that, or we should remember that whatever components or whatever elements you are placing on the screen should always be within the column limits. That is nothing but from this column to this column. It should not cross beyond this, and that's exactly the reason why we have margin, so there is scope. So you can click on the object and move it, see distances, and it will automatically appear. And if you want to maintain a uniform distance, this is matching this. So, or you can also match it to 36. So I want to match it to 36 because there are all the components inside. You can even click individually and right click it. There are plenty of actions here. You can copy them, paste, and you can also copy properties, and you can make it a component, make it a group. You can bring it in the front if there is anything in the background. Align it to pixel grid, align. So there are other options. Should spend a little more time and also should explore. And I'll show you on how to create a component. So you can create buttons, and if you have repetition elements like the status bar, or you have a home navigation bar here, all of that you want it to be a repeating screens, then you can make a component. You can just copy paste the component on each screen. So changing one component, the changes are repeated in all the components. I'll just quickly show you on how it can be done. So you can also see how select there's a different color to show that it's a component, and different representation there for components. Just double click on it and then make changes. So you can see how whatever changes I made in this, it's also happened in this. Having a component. So if you have action buttons which are repeating, or if you have status bar and navigation bar, you can just create it for one screen and make them component. And if you ever make changes in those elements, it will automatically make changes in the rest of the screens, which is a big time saver. And you can see it here under all assets where we have components. I can also add colors. I want to add, I can show you how you can change colors. So right now it's a solid color. I want to make it a gradient. So I can just select the gradient I want and at what angle and how I want it. This is a linear gradient. You can also select the gradient and select the diameters of it. So there are lots of options you must explore. You can click on this and change the colors. You can make these your action buttons. When you even click on when you click on the shapes, you change the properties of the shape. You can create rounded edges. This is a background blur. When we have a pop-up screen and then you don't want the background to be visible, I'll just quickly show you. So it's created a rectangle here. Don't want the border to be created. So everything underneath that rectangle is blurred. Decide how blurry I want it to be. I can adjust them here. Then adjust the brightness of it here. Increase the size, place it in the center. You can, when you're moving it around, you can see the values and the distances from it. Okay, so what else? I also want to show you how to make some alignments. This is important. Let's say I have placed a copy of different placing components here, and I want all of them to be in line. So I just select all the three together. There are different options which you can see here on your right hand side. To align them in different ways. If you want left hand side, you want them centrally aligned. You want to align on the right. You want them to have a distributed distance between each other. So, which is this a horizontal distribution. You can have a distribution. This is horizontal. That's vertical. And then you also have if you want to align from the bottom, from the middle, from the top, different alignments. Let's see. I want them to be centrally aligned. And I have one that this is how you arrange your grid layouts or some elements or you're designing some smaller details. Can also make your own shapes and customize the elements on your screen. Let's say I have two different shapes and overlap them. When I select them together, I get a number of options here, like subtraction, addition, moving, add, subtract, multiply, and exclude. So let me see, I can create my own by adding this. You can see that the line is disappeared and the outline is taken in the shape. Let's see what happens. Subtract it. So a circular, semicircular shape is formed. Then I want it to be of this shape. I can do this. You can explore and create your own design and elements in this. This is the the basic of designing and creating all of this. What we will do now is actually try and do the exercise. The exercise is to create a login screen for a mobile interface, and I want it to be a very simple login screen. Since we are starting off designing, let's try and copy something to understand how we can make it. I have something for reference. I'm just going to put it here so that we can copy it and make an exact copy of that. We can change certain elements in it. This is, you can just drag drop images to your screen, your working area, if you want some references from in there. I'll also show you all how I use plugins. So, a lot of things that we do once we actually try and start creating some things. So I want to create this screen first and probably this a pop-up or a slide or different parts of it. So we can try out if we can prototype it. Let me just quickly check the time. It's 6:15. Now let's take a few minutes and do these screens. I would recommend all of you all to do it along with me to help you all and understand how design can be done. We are not paying attention to or implementing whatever we've learned, but we can try and recognize what are the design elements or UI elements which are already used and copy and this is a Zeppelin login screen actually. And I'm not sure if they use a mobile phone design or a standard. We're just going to see if we can create these particular design elements here. So what we can see that there is a primary login button, there are some input fields, and there is another login button here. There's some other secondary clickable links. Let's add all of this. It's quite a simple um, design and all these elements also. So to begin with, uh, we can get access to a lot of already existing UI kits from here, iOS, Material Design, Microsoft, and all of those. So every standard, like a status bar or a standard keyboard, all of this is available in your UI kits. You can directly get it from here. You have to download it from our website. So you can also copy elements from different files. Like this, I just place it there at a distance of 10, and then I don't like this India. It's just studying. So I'm going to increase the opacity of it. What is next? So I want to create this to see you. I'm going to work on the typography later and the sizes later. But if you want to add text, you have this here, and you can just press the across. It is using Apple's system UI font because we already because the artwork we change was an iPhone. I can choose my font. I can choose the size. Let me make it 6. I can edit it. Let's see if I can place it in the center. I might change. But let's see. I also change the style. So this is a weights which we discussed of the type. There is a medium, black, heavy, light. I'm going to keep it. Then make this a little more check this space. Then these. I'm going to add the logos at these. I just create all these. I understand that this is like an input field. So I will make it like a component or I'll make it and then I hope all of you are able to follow whatever I'm doing and are able to work with me as and when we are exploring the software. What color is it? I can just take this is a picker, so you can pick the color you want and this color. So I'm going to pick this color and the hex code will appear here. So that's the color. Uh, so you see that it's already selected. Okay. Now I'll create these input fields. You can just take a line and draw a line. This is the simple line which we discussed in design theory. Uh, can you all just let me know if you're able to follow what I'm doing? Just a yes or no will do. If you want me to go fast or slow. As username. I'm going to select this element and this element now. This element right and then reduce this. So I've selected both the elements. I'm just going to right click it and make it a group. If I want, I can also, but since I'm not using it in, I've just made it a group. I think this is a little too big. I will make it half the size. Now I can just copy paste this element. I will slow down, but then I have a lot planned for the session. I will need another hour, uh, minimum of an hour. First time to. So I'm going to start adding the rest of the elements just to complete username, password, and then we have a main action button here. I have a couple of more. Just going to copy paste. I haven't bothered about the spacing. I'm going to do it at the end. I'm just going to add a new account to it. Sign up. Okay. Still no account. Let's see. I think we have most of our components here. I had already downloaded some logos. You can or icons. You can get these icons from flaticon.com, or there are lots of plugins for XD like Unity, and you can also find it in nonproject.com. These are a couple of websites where you find all the logos for free. All you have to do is register. So every time you download a logo, you have to download it in a .svg format so that you can change and alter the elements if you want to. If you download a JPEG or a PNG, you won't be able to do it. Whereas in SVG, you can change the elements of each one of these, like the color, the shape, or the size, and all of those without any regions. Um, what are the names? There is a Google and I'm not sure if I have exactly. This is a PNG, whereas this is an SVG. Just to show you all the difference, I cannot click on any of these elements and make changes, whereas I can double click on this and make whatever changes I want to. Remove them. I'm going to reduce the size of it to fit in the box. I can just press Alt. You can see the distances, or you can just equally space it. Let me change the spacing of this. Change the spacing between each type. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now. It's in .svg. You can also use a PNG like how I'm using here, but I recommend that all the logos you download will be in an SVG format. Login with, if you actually closely pay attention to it, this is a little, let me say the weight is a little heavy. So I am going to select this and change it to a medium, or just pick the shade of the color from here. The now it's considers as state. And the edges look seem to be a little rounded, so I'm going to try and round it. I'm changing the colors here for the type. Also the sites that we mentioned for our workshop. Flat icon.com Nucleo is also a plugin. You can download as a plugin. What else did I mention? Noun project and then noun project.com. So all three of these serve the same purpose. The on the most you can download the free icons in whatever format you want them. This is also display. Okay, now that I have most of my elements in place, I am going to work on my spacing. One option, so just want to let you all know quickly here. These elements, I want to check the distances. You just select the element you want and press Alt and select the element you want to check the distance from. So 16 and 17. And that's okay. Maybe we can just align these two centrally by clicking on this. These are grouped. The main action button. So I'm going to group these. I'm going to select login and the rectangle button and align them. Now it's aligned and group them. So, or let's just make it a component because it's an action button. So that if I copy it to another screen. So I think I have most of my elements in place. We have tried and copied exactly what this is, what reference we had. One thing I want to quickly show you all is match the org with login with Google. So I'm going to select this, right click it, copy, select this because I want to change the property of this, right click it, paste appearance. So it's going to copy the characteristics or the properties of whatever we have copied. Let me quickly place this layer to. I want to change the properties of this one. The right shade. I will change it. I will create some dash, create some gaps. I think we need a lot more gap. Closest, I think, or closer. Let me just quickly work on. I want this to be a button. So I'm going to just select all these different elements and make it make it a component. List of components on my left hand side. View it. I can select the art mode and play. And you can see a preview of the screen. Okay. So I hope we have a basic screen. I don't know how much each one of you have done, but if you have some elements in place, that doesn't have to make this finish. I'm just going to copy this just to show you all like a quick prototype. I might not finish it, but I'll just show you the basic idea or the basic tool. Prototyping is really fun. You can see your designs come to life. So every time you design, you simultaneously prototype to have a more clearer idea about your interaction, and this will also help you to convey your ideas to the rest of the team or your clients or your development team. And even for you to understand how the interaction should work, this is a great way to do it. So what I'm going to do here is I've just copied the screen. When I click on login with Google, I want a pop-up with some options. So I'm going to create that. This is my next screen. I will just create like a background here, like how I showed earlier. Change the opacity. And I want to have a pop-up screen about this. So let me just quickly check my layout so that my pop-up lies in the layout between the columns and not going into my margin. I will paste this essentially to my screen. These are some elements that what I want on the pop-up, but I'm not going to do them. I just want to quickly show you how you could make it upload. I'm just going to add some rectangles which will make it look like there is some elements. Prototype space. So when you come to the prototype space, it is exactly similar to what we are designing space, but here our toolbar changes. When you click on the screen, you get these marks. These are just connecting wires. You can connect it to the screen which you want to. And once you've connected, you can see that this screen is connected. So, and you can click on the wire. It can show you what is the interaction you want on a trigger, which is the trigger attack. Yes, I want. What do I want to tap on? I want to tap on this. I want to tap on this element and I want this pop-up to appear. So I'm going to select this element on the screen, select this screen. So when I tap on it, I want this screen to appear. What is this transition? Let's just see what it will do. We'll keep it as transition. Oh, this is okay. Let's just preview it and see what is happening. Now maybe we can. There are a lot of options like auto animate, overlay, scroll. You can select the artboards if you want them to go in a sequence, and you can also select the animation you want. Like slide from right up, dissolve. You want them to come from down. So many ways to do it. So go. Something went wrong with my artboard, so I'm just going to copy paste my artboard and try the prototyping again. You click on this element, select the screen I want, and then see. Yeah. So you can just preview it, log in, and then I have the pop-up screen up here. You can positions, animate things, um, slide it from left. Let's see what happens when I click and slide it from left. Slide it from left. I just because I want to do a pop-up, I will select the design. I can also change the duration for how much of a delay. 6 seconds. Okay, 0.6 seconds. You can see that the animation is increased layer. This is how you make prototypes. Just keep exploring. You can really plan your interaction and how your users, when the users are interacting with the screens you have designed. So this is the final screen. Create I'm going to stop here, and you can continue exploring. But I want to quickly move on to the next topic, and I'm going to share my Chrome. Let me just share my slides here. you can do is you can select these artworks and export them and move in Zeppelin. This is like a handoff thing. So I want to hand off this screen which I've designed to my development team. So I'm going to select this, and I have to make sure that each of the icons I used is an exportable format. So every time you click on this, it should be marked as export. So your team is able to download all the buttons as it is, and there is everything you want the components export, and now I'm going to export Zeppelin too much, and so this is how we export from XP to Zeppelin. I'm going to select the artwork I want, go to file. So I have marked this for export. This is the screen I want to export. So just click on file, go to export, and say all artboards are selected. This is when you want to export it as a PNG or whatever format you want to export it. You can kind of artworks you want, but I want to export it directly to Zeppelin since I already have Zeppelin. I'm going to click on Zeppelin, and it's going to ask me where I want to upload. Since I don't have a project, okay, so I've come to Zeppelin. This is, I think I might have to share my, yeah. So you've come to Zeppelin. I need to create a project. So what have you done with iOS? So I'm going to create a project. Even before you add anything, create a project. So I've created, this is how my Zeppelin is. Let's see, I want to share basic. Now I'm going to export it from XD, file, export, go to Zeppelin. You can select the project and then click on export. And it's going to ask you the resolution, pixel, and those details. You should be well aware of what you want. I'm going to select it to XL, that's generally what the video works in. And it's exporting all the assets and all the creations you do. So when it's important. So you can just, now it's exported. So you can just click on this and the developers will be able to see all the screens which you have added here. And they can click on all these elements and see, check the dimensions, check the distances, and they will even get, since I've made it an asset that is exportable, they can even download this as a clickable button in whatever format, the vector format, PNG format, so that you can also get details of the typeface, sizes, line height, and the alignment and everything. What are the colors used? This is again a component. So I made it an asset which is made it exportable. You have to make it exportable on XP to become an asset on Zeppelin so that the developers are able to easily download and use it. This, since it's a collaboration tool, anybody else viewing this can also comment and leave comments where you can also view it simultaneously, and the developing team and the designing team can work together. Yeah. Everything for the developer needs, the attributes, all of that will appear in Zeppelin here. You can see distances, margins, all the details. So I'll just go back to my dashboard, go back to projects. This is the basic interface of a Zeppelin. There's something called a style guide where the developers create a style guide. I don't want to get into too much details of this. I'll probably share a link. You can refer it. I can just click on this. I can add it to Slack and connect it. I can share it. I have a link for this Zeppelin board and I can share it. You go back to your projects. You can have a number of projects. Click on this project. You have all the screens here. Zeppelin is a very simple tool, and this is how we use it. Now I'm going to quickly go back to our presentation. I have a couple of things I would want to cover, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to do the. I had a few things planned. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do the final design process in practice, but let me at least show you all. I hope you're able to see what I'm presenting. Let me quickly run through this. I'll take you all through the design process which is generally followed in the industry. Design process which I follow. It depends on each designer and how they practice. Just to start off, this is elements process where how the process actually started. This was put together by a designer called Jesse James Garrett. Just to put and combine two worlds together where the web world for the web and the designer come together to collaborate and make a process of it. So you can see how they're placed in 5 different layers, and this is from web as a hypertext system and a software interface system. She's talking about the front end of it and the back end of it, and she's trying to combine through this infographic. There's a site objective where usernames and then specifications from the interface side at the same content requirements from the backend side. Information architecture, interaction design, interface design, and finally the visual design on the top of it. This is how it works from this layer upwards. This was one of the first infographics to put in place to combine the front end and the back end design. This is the kind of popularity of design. And this is something interaction methods along with Jesse James Garrett's elements of user experience design. So this is different design methods they're following, or the HCI methods they follow to achieve whatever is actually needed for the design, which is front end and back end design. These are the methods which you see, like for user needs, what method they use, like they use interviews and they use contextual inquiry to get user needs. For functional specifications, they design affinity diagrams. They follow a method of affinity diagrams. To design the interaction, the HCI designers have a storyboard and they create steps on how the user is interacting with the product. Interface design and information design, we have wireframes and wireframes, sketching, and evaluation of these wireframes happening at the same time. Finally, the visual design. This is where communication design, typography, colors, icons, all of those come into play. And this is a diagram which shows the understanding of UX design from a user point of view and how the user is seeing it from his point of view. And this was put together by Mike Cummings, and he has divided visual design itself into different elements like sound, motion, graphic, and language. And these are elements which a user perceives and not much of a sitemap or anything else. So he looks at information, sound adds to his experience, motion adds to his experience, the language used adds to the experience, the graphic design adds to the experience. So from a user point of view, what is important um, process or what is important for a user is what is put here in the diagrammatic format by Michael Cummins. We can look at it individually and understand it. Coming to design processes, there are a lot of different design processes companies or it's followed in the industry. Lean UX, Agile UX, and design thinking. They somehow they all have some similarities, but they're still different in terms of from where they begin and how they go about and how it ends. Design thinking is the most popular way of doing or creating designs for products or product development now. This is one of the design processes a studio follows, and quite this is something most of them follow, and this is based off the design thinking method and a mix of style and listening. So they have a product strategy and planning, and they have product research, and there's analysis of the research. Then they get into designing. There's the production of the product. Sometimes there's a beta launch. They evaluate and they redo the whole process again. Sometimes they launch and they come back to do the research and evaluating and testing. Generally, this is how a design process looks, and these are the different steps a designer follows in the product development. And this is a design process I follow. I've simplified and modified it according to the needs of how I want to practice it. The most basic step, or the first step, is research. Research, and from there I develop. So in research, I'm trying to understand what my problem statement is, what I'm trying to create, who are my users, and I also do a little bit of comparative analysis or a research of if there are any other existing products, how are they doing it, and so many other elements under research. I will slowly get into each aspects of it in the next step. And from research, we move on to information architecture, where whatever information I want to use or however I want to structure my product is put into like a map or a structure or a diagram where I have this is basically like the blueprint of my entire product. I'm going to put it in different steps, and after that I'm going to sketch and ideate and prototype it of how my product should be made, or how I envision my product to be. And then I create wireframes. From wireframes, I move on to visual designing and then testing it. Is generally how I follow it, but sometimes after wireframing itself, I might test it with certain people or certain users just to see if I quickly want to make some other alteration based on the user's feedback, and then move on to finally doing the visual design. But visual design is also a very important layer, which we discussed yesterday, dictates a lot of user experience qualities. So I prefer doing the visual design and then doing the user testing, where UX and UI is fully complete and users experiencing it as a whole package. Then is when we actually get feedback on our design. I've put in a flow chart here where we know what are the roles of a UX and UI designer, what are the different stages they're involved in creating a product, and what are they expected to deliver. This is for information. This is not a very a standard rule as such, but just to understand what a designer does. This is a very simple representation of it. You can see the different roles here, like UX designer. This is the stages they are involved in, like research, building information architecture, prototyping, and usability testing. UI designer and UX designer is when this is the area where you come into picture. We are prototyping, where you are UI designing, and generally In larger companies, we have specific designers who work on specific stages, which is we have designers working specifically for information architecture, designers working as user researchers. We also have designers who conduct usability testing with the development team. The larger companies tend to have different people with different roles for different stages. But if you join a smaller company, which is a general practice in India here, you're expected to play a role of UX and UI designer and be aware of most of these processes in different stages and know what each deliverable is also. So I just want to get into a little bit of a detail of these each steps, and I have something put in here. But I am not going to spend too much time on this because their UX UI process is really hard to explain. I've just given you a rough or a brief idea about what exactly a process is and how they work. So research and analysis. There are two different types of research. There is qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis is where we are actually trying to understand the underlying reasons or the opinions and motivations of how people behave or use the product. And we're going to also try and understand a little bit about the trends of how humans or how our users are using our product, what are their opinions on it. Generally, when we are conducting a qualitative analysis, it is a smaller group of users, and as soon as we collect some data, we go back and we try and evaluate it and redesign it. To conduct qualitative research, we use methods like user interviews and observations. We have focus group studies, we have field studies. This is more to collect information on user behavior and the way they use a product. Quantitative is more like a numerical statistic or a data, like a numerical data that can be converted or transformed into some sort of statistics which is analyzed. It's conducted in a larger group, and this is to generalize or just to get an idea of how a product is being used in larger groups and understand the patterns of behavior, patterns of opinions, and patterns of usability or efficiency. These are the things we would understand from data, like how many people are actually adding an item into a cart on a retail website. And once they put a cart, are they buying? How many people are buying? What is stopping these number of people from buying the product? So these are some questions which we can think of when we get these quantitative research data. And all of these will dictate our design process and design decisions. It's a very, very important step in product designing or UX design. There are a lot of processes a lot of methods which are used, like competitive analysis, competitive research, and field study, ethnographic study. I just have a brief, there's an infographic here just to explain you all briefly on how what methods are used in which and in what direction does it go, like qualitative or quantitative. Each one of this is are important methods, and they have their own set of ways of doing this research. And when I worked in Aether, this is what I used to do. I would work as a researcher, and this was my main purpose of being there. I had to understand data and create or come up with analysis and then create design solutions to help a situation which was identified. You can see how what people say, what people do. You can find a lot of these maps. Next and the most important is information architecture. This is basically information architecture is like a blueprint of your product or your website or your application. So once you have your information architecture, it is like a skeleton for your product, and this will base your product will be based off this information architecture. Information architecture is nothing but laying your information in different layers or mapping it out so you know the different types of pages, or it can be elements or the movement of users, and you can also link them from one flow to another flow, or when you can just click and when a user clicks on something, where is the user going. You can create all these site maps also on your from your information architecture. Just one second. Yeah. From your information architecture. It's very important that we do this. If you all are interested, I can share this beginner's guide to information architecture. It's a long process by itself. I would request all of you all to spend more time on understanding information architecture. Might just look simple, but then when we're designing a new product, it's the most complicated step in the entire process. The next step is sketching ideas and paper prototyping. This is where you put in all your ideas and just be open and free and be unbiased in putting everything on paper. I'm not sure if we have the time to do this, but we can extend it. We can extend the session by a couple of minutes more and see if we can quickly prototype something. I had designed it for the session, but let's see. And then is the wireframing. So after you're done and put your sketches or put your ideas on paper, we move on to wireframing it. Wireframing is nothing but actually putting it in an actual layout where you use your elements, and which will finally move on to becoming actual mock-up screen. So there are two types of wireframes, which is a low fidelity wireframe and a high fidelity wireframe. What you see here, first one is a low fidelity wireframe, and what you see at the middle is probably a high fidelity wireframe. What you see at the last is a screen or a mock-up. You can see how it's evolved, and you can. This is where you put all your elements like lines, buttons, icons, action buttons, and flows and layouts, everything here on in paper. I generally want to and like to do wireframing also on paper and be free about not making mistakes that let you think and ideate fast. There are some other examples of how a wireframe is converted into a visual design. When in some companies, when roles are extremely well defined, as a UI designer, you will only receive these wireframes where you will have to add the visual design layer. And visual design layer is nothing but whatever we discussed yesterday in terms of color and iconography and balance and texture and hierarchy, just to give it that depth and importance for the product. This is an example of a mid-fidelity wireframe to a high fidelity, and then you can see how the user is slowly progressing to making a visual design by adding in some colors. This is a high fidelity wireframe. Whatever you see here is all high fidelity wireframe. Next is a mood board. I think somebody asked me yesterday about a mood board. This is important. It's a very important tool for ideation for the users, and especially for a UI UX designer, where even before getting into colors and design aspect and text and typography, it just lets you put in all the ideas together. It can be images from different websites, it can be just random colors, all the headline typefaces you like, and what are the colors you like, what sort of images you will be using, what are the button styles you like. So you just put all of these together so that you have some sort of track or some sort of idea before you just randomly start putting or adding colors. Then we also have a UI style guide. Uh, this is all a part of visual design after wireframing. This is when the UI designing is mood board and UI style guide. After creating a mood board, we generally create a guide, or you can just start creating your screens and then parallelly also create a style guide. It really left to individuals on how they practice. Sometimes a style guide is written even at the end of creating all the screens. Um, it's really up to the individual and the company and their practices. But it is important that we have a UI style guide. It is like a document where you have all your branding styles followed, and you have all your UI elements in place, you have all your icons in place, you have every element from design aspect used so that there is a set of standards which is used in development. I'm going to share these to understand UX UI process in depth. This is a designer from Max Rosero from Airbnb, and I refer to his processes and way of designing a lot because they have a very structured way of doing it. This is his UI Airbnb UI kit which he created for one of the redesigns. You can see everything from UI elements like a navigation bar, like a search bar, and what sort of images. All of these type of icons. So this document which can be used for any further references, or it can also be shared with your development team to make the product a little more smoother. You can also see the button styles and the statuses of them, like a clicked and non-clicked, and a hover state and different transitions. This is another style guide example where you can see different states and different UI elements used. And the last step comes to usability testing. This is very, very important. This is as important as conducting user research or any other step in the entire process. Usability testing actually gives you a real idea of your product. And you might have assumed a lot of things and gone ahead with design decisions. Here is where it's actually put into testing and can be done with smaller group initially and then you can conduct it with a bigger group of users to get in better ideas. So types of testing, there are three types of testing, which is a comparative usability testing, where we do A or B testing. We design a type of product which is A, and we also do a product B for the same, like style A and style B for the product, and we test it with users, which may have different interactions, which may have different environments, which may have different flows, and we're going to test product A and product B with the users and see which one is used most efficiently, is well, the user is able to handle the product without any hiccups. All of this will be tested, and this is called A or B testing. It's basically a comparative analysis. Compare what is right, what's working, what's not working between both the products. Sometimes there'll be a couple of elements which works in A, couple of elements which works in B, and at the end of it, what becomes, we might just pick elements which are working and make a C, or a product C, which is a combination of A and B. Or sometimes it happens that B is not working and A is working. It can lead to different scenarios. Explorative usability testing is generally done when we have the beta launch or just before the beta launch, where we try and spot the gaps in the flows or in the usability point of view, how if there is any trouble for the users, done with smaller groups, and this is more like just exploring and using the product and trying to understand it, and that's how we find gaps. It's an explorative type. And usability evaluation, Usability evaluation is when you've already launched your product into the market and you want to revise it or get user feedback. Then there's a whole other process of setting up usability evaluation where you meet a certain group of users who've been using your product for a certain time and create user interviews and collect data, and you go back to researching, and then from all the data you've gathered, you either redesign and develop different versions and keep reusing into the market based on user feedback. And usability testing is a very, very important aspect of the design process. So I had planned for a design problem statement where I thought we could probably solve the problem together and following the design process. But since we do not, we have already come to the end of the session. Like and I think I have only 5 minutes more. Uh, you guys can take it up as a DIY, and I will share this problem statement, and you can follow these methods of creating. You can do some research, create wireframes. This is what I wanted to do in a hands-on session with you all, and that's exactly why I asked you to get some paper and pen. But I think we're out of time. Okay. I'm open to any questions if you all want to ask. I see a question. What is Jira written in Zeppelin? Jira which we use for collaborating and testing, and I had it pre-installed on my, I mean, I had it installed on my laptop, and that's exactly what you can see Jira on Zeppelin window. I can uh, link it, I can share the notes directly. Do have a look at the problem statement and take it up as a DIY. And try to follow these design processes, prototypes and mockups, and also work on XP and Zeppelin from this problem statement. XT is purely a design tool. It's not a development tool. Development tools are completely different from designing tools. Um, XT is just for you to envision or visualize your product. So that's where the designer uses XT to create a user interface and not really develop. Web development, HTML and CSS are development tools where you're actually building the product, or you're coding to make the product. The XT is just letting you create a skin or user interface for the product. How to add functionality in XT? I'm not sure what you mean by functionality. I don't know if you mean plugins or functionality. I'm sorry, but I don't understand that question. Responsive designs. Can you please can you please reframe your question because I'm not sure what you're asking. I can quickly share my screen. Any more questions? Please feel free to ask me now. Uh, I'm sorry, Rishabh, but I didn't really get your question. Can you please repeat it? Oh, you can't really connect it to the backend. The connecting to is your Zeppelin where you're handing it off to go for development. Where if you actually look at Zeppelin, you will understand how it's giving you details in terms of a coding language to development. There is, I don't know, I don't think there's a connect from front end to back end. Zeppelin is what is doing it. It's taking the design and it's like you're handing off the design to go into development. And developing and backend development is a whole different thing, and designing is a whole different thing. And it is important that you know aspects of design, like what we discussed yesterday today, even if you want to be a front end or a back end developer. Do download some plugins for designing. It just helps you design quicker and faster. I'll show you how. If I would want to create, say, some user profiles, then I can just select this. I have a plugin called as the UI faces. I can select from where I want the faces to come, what gender I want, what emotion I want, and then select the boxes or the circles you want, say apply, and then it will generate some profiles for me. So you can just create some user profiles. So it just like this, you know. If you want to create the screen, then you can generate the user icons quickly. So a lot of these plugins play similar roles. I don't have a lot of them, use some of them, which is like content creator and profile creator and export. If I want to export bold in a larger pixel, then I have this custom export. What is the job scenario like for a UI UX designer? Like any other field, UI UX designer field is super competitive because we have designers from so many different fields coming into UX and UI design. Just like me, I was a practicing architect for 2 years. Then my master's and then UX design. And how I moved into UX UI design was a whole different story. But there is scope, there is a lot of scope for UI UX designers to grow and learn. It is competitive, and right now it is growing extremely fast. Hierarchy for designers in IT companies. Let's see. So you join as a designer. It actually really depends on your background and your abilities and your education background. Actually, education background and your abilities to perform and abilities to do well. But if you have to just look at a hierarchy as such, like a job hierarchy, you start off as a junior designer. Uh, there are, it depends on where you join also. If you join these larger companies like IT companies, I'm pretty sure there are only specific UI designers which come from UI background, and there are also UX designers who come from actual HCI background. Uh, and So you start off as a junior designer, depending on what you want to be, UI or UX or both, and you can want to be a senior UX designer, and probably you want to become a design manager and, or design lead and then design manager. If you really want to go further, you can move to becoming a product manager also. but that's on a long term. It depends on your experience and uh, your position and your knowledge and so many other things come into you growing in this field. I know a lot of them who started off as designers and uh, product management because more than UI UX design now, knowing and having the ability to run and build a project and think and plan for a product is more important. So it is, especially the scenario in India, they look at you as a whole. You're able to do UI UX product and everything. And that's why we started off our session yesterday, understanding what are these different roles or different aspects of UI/UX and product. I don't know. I can't say how hard it's going to be. It really depends on the individual and the amount of and how much you're able to commit to learning in UI/UX. And to be honest, UI/UX design field comes from like any other field. You maybe get better with experience and since I was from a design background, which is architecture, a lot of these elements, especially all the design theories and how we go about the design process, is extremely similar to creating architectural spaces in my architecture. And since I'd already practiced it for 2 years, and then I moved on to studying product design and then UX design, it was more a natural journey for me to be involved with design from before, and nothing. Initially, it will be hard, but yeah, this I slowly grew a lot of interest in what I was doing, and that's how I started enjoying. But to be honest, since I already had a design background, I think I think it helped me a lot. It depends. It depends on the missions. So maybe just give it a try. Do some more courses online, take up a certification, and really see if that's your interest. It's a very hectic, has a good work-life balance. Just like any other job, it gets very hectic sometimes when we are in the initial phases of product development or um, we have we are in the phases of redesigning and we have it's just like any other position. We have deadlines to meet and we have to coordinate with so many other colleagues and teams you're working with. It's like any other job. Sometimes it's hectic, sometimes there is a balance. It's again, it's left to individuals on how we want to see it or see it. Because I am from a UX background or an architecture background or a design background, since I'm from a design background, I enjoy being in this space, so I don't really find it hectic always. But there are certain days where kind of work I do and generate ideas and to keep creating get hard. Sometimes you may just be saturated. You might not uh, have the ability to create ideas. So that's when it gets really hectic and you'll have to meet deadlines and yeah, just you will face these situations just like any other job. So which is a good institute in India for UI/UX. There is no institute which is teaching UI/UX course as of called. There's a basic design course and different names for it. There's a HCI, there's a master's in design in IIT Bombay and I'm not sure, but IIT has. And in Shrishti and NID, they have courses called as, in Shrishti, we have human-centered design and information design. These are different courses and it is not called UI/UX. And what I learned and what I'm practicing different things and but Srishti gave me a good base and a good place to practice and a good uh, base for me to understand what is design all about So my master's with Shrishti was a very good experience for me to move more into product design. There are a lot of freelancing sites. Let me think. Upwork is one, and there is something called as Dribble, where it is only exclusively for designers and developers. Developers who are extremely keen on design and they develop their designs. It's called Dribble. It's an invite-based site. Only if you receive an invite, you can be a part of the whole community. It's a designing and developing community, and a lot of developers reach out to designers and designers reach out to developers and they work with collaboration, like remote collaboration and freelance. Any more questions? Open to questions, guys. I hope uh, the session was informative. I really wish we could have continued doing the hands-on session of creating people prototypes and creating information architecture. But I'm extremely sorry that I think I put in a lot of information in just 2 hours today and yesterday. But I at least wanted to ensure that all of you are introduced to these topics since it's an introduction or a basic introduction course from UX. Um, basic work. I wanted to introduce you all so that if you're really interested, you're now aware of what actually is there and continue um, exploring it in your own way. And really, if you want to grow, it's left to you as an individual on how much you want to put in. And I have shared every information for a beginner or every information which is important for a beginner to know or to start off or to just be explorating about the whole UI UX field. And it is a competitive field to survive. You need to be quick. You need to know the basics. You need to have um, the ability to think fast and develop ideas and is quick and rapid. It's extremely fast and expectations are high, especially when you have like a specific degree from this field. Because what I observed is a lot of seniors who are in the industry are they do not have education in the UI or UX field. They come only through experience and they would have grown in the job. But I see a lot of newer people or the newer crowd which is joining the industry do come with certain education, at least like a certification in UI UX. So you need to really to survive. It's a very fast growing field. Thank you. I'm glad it was useful. Problem statement again, and I'm hoping some of you would be interested in solving it. I have planned out an entire session on this. Do try and solve it and reach out to me. I will. I will give you my personal email ID so you can reach out to me there. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Behance. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find my work online. So this is my LinkedIn profile. You can just find me. I have some of my work up here, so you can just have a look at it. If you guys are interested in having more sessions, do write a feedback or reach out to NIT Technologies or Systems Incubator and we'll see if we can conduct only prototyping sessions where we're only solving problem statement. That would be a good progress from here. I assumed a lot of you would not be from the UI field or UX field and are absolutely newbies to the whole field, and that's how I planned the workshop. And I hope It was informative enough and useful enough, and now we can make some decisions if we would be interested in taking this up. Also, please look into interaction design foundation. Let me just Google that. Interaction design foundation.org. I hope you guys are able to see what I'm sharing. This is a nice way to start UI UX if you are confused or not sure, or you don't know much, or you don't know more about it or want to know more about it. It's interesting. If you have like student ID, you can get some UX courses for lesser price. Become a member, and you can earn certificates which are mostly recognized in most of the industries, and they have smaller certifications like interaction design, accessibility. We spoke about each one of this, but everything needs more attention and more time, and everything is important. Is even more important than what I spoke about. I just introduced you all to elements of UX design. There is so much more that you all have to know. So you can take up individual courses, like courses only on typography, courses only on psychology, courses only on iconography, courses only on layout. Or you can just take courses on researching and get certificates. And these are more valuable in the industry, they're more recognized in the industry, which is a great help. And another is NN Group. Is Nielsen and Norman Group is UX training and consulting. They're highly expensive, both are US based, but they have a lot of online content. I think I've already shared content on researching from NN Group. These are some references I always go back to when I am in doubt. Even when I'm practicing is hard. Practicing is hard. There are no defined or set rules, and you're just trying to apply all your understanding into practical field. So there will reach points in the entire process where you want to validate or you want to just rethink the whole approach or just need some help. So I come back to all of these, especially Nielsen, Norman, and IBM. Is something which is very, very important for me. I spent most of my masters learning from them, their practices, and their tools. And so I did my masters in human cycle design. A lot of their practice and a lot of their tools is extremely handy, extremely useful, and they are really popular in the design field. Look at them. Do have a look at all the different kits they have. And yes, method cards, design system thinking. There so many. There's so many, and there's all the research methods and how they conduct it. It's important that we all have more ideas about this. Practicing field is really, really different from academic field. So learn and know as much as you can, and practice as much as you can, and keep ideating, keep exploring, use a lot of products, and just really be aware of all the trends in the current design field, what is happening, what is the latest exploration from designers, what are the newest products, and what are the newest technologies like AR, VR, and then 3D printing. How are we going to design a user interface for an AR technology or an VR technology or a voice-based interaction? So, as and when technology is developing, design also has to develop. and it's very important to keep pace with how rapid technology is growing. And you need to be good with your basics, and you can get a hang of all the basics from mostly these organizations which conduct tests and they certify you. This is NN Nielsen non IDEO is actually a very popular design group, and they have throughout the years they've come up with their own methods to help them design faster. And they have a lot of books. One of the most famous books from IDEO, Tim Brown is the CEO of IDEO. His book called as the Design Thinking. I don't know. I don't believe in softwares. You have to get down and sketch, practice, and put your ideas on. Okay, I think that's all from my side. Uh, Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I hope everybody had a good session, a good workshop with me. And that is a very nice experience for me also. Thank you for attending my session, attending this workshop. I'd like to thank Cisco and Allied Technologies for giving me this opportunity to connect and conduct this workshop. If we don't have any more questions, I would like to end the session. Thank you.